Hi, I'm Carolyn Shavino, your career coach on what's happening in the world of work, Aurora. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Joe Albano, and he represents HelloFresh. Yes, HelloFresh, the great food that I have the privy to eat every single lunchtime because it is so good for you. It doesn't just taste good, it is good for you. Well, Joe is the director of talent acquisition for HelloFresh. Let's give him a warm welcome. Welcome, Joe.
Hello from HelloFresh. Thank you for having
Hello. I
me.
am so glad you're here. And
Likewise.
Joe came to visit us today in the great city of Aurora from New York.
I'm happy to be here as someone who has grown up in the Chicago Oak Park area. I
Yeah.
always look for opportunities to get back and see you and hang out with the Express crew and talk
Thank
all
you.
things recruitment.
Well, beautiful. Wonderful. Well, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you about your journey, Joe.
Happy to talk through it.
Okay. What sparked your journey into talent acquisition?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, I got into TA because I genuinely love helping people find meaningful work. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
I didn't grow up wealthy. I had to pay my own way through college. So I know the importance of having a paying job.
Yes.
But more important to that, a paying job where you're doing work that's worth doing is really important to me. And so I know with that, it's important to a lot of people out there. And I do everything I
is.
can to provide opportunities to those across the country.
Yes, and you sure do. Right here in Aurora.
We're happy to do so.
Over 1,000.
Yep,
So,
and counting.
Yes, and that is just outstanding, outstanding. So with your journey, Joe, as far as your leadership style, I am sure that it has evolved over time. But
thankfully it has.
me too. I don't even want people to know. They used to call me the green-eyed monster. What? Not me. Anyway, we all evolve, thank goodness. But tell us about your first opportunities.
Yeah. So, I would say early on, I really led from a place of urgency and I was very reactionary.
Okay.
What I realized is my team does not like having a reactionary leader. And so I now tend to lead with intention, really prioritizing clarity, inclusion, and adaptability.
Yeah.
This industry of recruiting is changing every 5 seconds.
Yes.
And so what I've learned is leading with trust and transparency will get me further than leading with control, leading by control.
Exactly. And that was my learning.
Yep.
Back in the day as a female executive, I was told to be powerful. You wear a tie and you wear, you're all suited up, which, I love to dress up, but the tie,
It's too much.
that is so not me. But along with that came this role that wasn't me. It was a
Sure.
facade. That I had to remove. And I removed it over time, like yourself. Thank goodness.
It takes time and it takes great feedback from your team to realize that maybe the way that I'm doing or previous habits I picked up are not sustainable long term.
Right.
And if my team is telling me what they need, it's up to me as their leader to listen, change course, and then move forward.
Outstanding.
Wow.
Outstanding. Oh, well, what does the future of talent acquisition look like? Seriously, in your view? I know it's shifted. You've mentioned that briefly, but what does it look like in your view, Joe?
Yeah, it's agile, it's data informed, it's candidate centric. The future isn't just about AI automation. It's how do we blend technology with empathy?
Yes.
And so we can focus on speed without losing our heart and soul, if you will.
Okay.
It's a very tight rope to walk. But it's something that we as TA professionals, I think, need to abide by because I think that's where the future is going.
I agree with you. But it's kind of scary.
It is.
You
It's
know.
unknown, a lot of unknown.
Yes, and especially to recruiters. I know my team, they constantly ask, am I going to be replaced by AI? Because there are so many different AI opportunities out
Sure.
there for leaders to purchase that does take the place of recruiters.
Sure.
But like you so eloquently said, it doesn't take the place of the heart.
No, I think for me, AI, especially in the world of recruiting, should be used to enhance the candidate and recruiter experience, not
Right.
replace the human beings involved.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's what makes your company so great as well.
Thank you.
So, how do you balance hiring for immediate needs versus long term growth?
Great question. I think it's really by building flexible pipelines and keeping the hiring bar consistent. I always ask myself and my team, will this person help us win today?
Ooh,
And will they evolve with us tomorrow? And if the answer isn't yes to both, for me, it's a candidate that we have to pass on.
okay. Can you repeat that? I love that.
Yes. How will this person help us win today? And how
Yes.
will they evolve with us tomorrow?
Okay.
And for me, it's really changed the way that my recruiters think and what questions they're asking in the interview process.
Okay.
And it's been a game changer for us.
Yeah, I would definitely. I'm going to make sure when I get back to my office, I share that with my team because I think that's going to make a different impact when you think differently.
Sure.
How are they going to help us win?
Yeah. How will they help us win today? How will they evolve with us tomorrow?
What is the biggest shift you've seen in recruitment over the past 5 years? And I asked that, and on the show several times I've talked about the difference in our workforce since COVID, and it has shifted.
Immensely.
So if you can
Yeah.
just kind of focus on that for a bit. Wow,
Sure.
it has.
In a post-COVID world, we've really moved from an employer-driven to a candidate-driven marketplace, and now we're at a crossroads where both are intersecting. And for me, what do I think is next?
Yes.
Hyper-personalized recruiting experiences that are powered by AI,
Okay.
but really guided by human judgment. And really, again, we talked about not lacking that human heart, human soul. So I think there's an opportunity for both to partner together and really reaching candidates where they're currently at in the marketplace. And what I mean by that is one of the things that I'm exploring right now is, we have a lot of candidates that come from the Amazons of the world where they're working
Yes.
late hours or long shifts. And so, they may be a candidate that ends their shift at 1 a.m. and they just decide that that's it. They've had enough. They want to apply for a role. They're amped up, but it's 1 a.m. They can't talk to a recruiter at 1 a.m. So now it's how do we implement
Ah,
AI technology so that if a candidate is interested and they want to talk to someone, they can at least do a screen with an AI recruiter. We record their responses, and the actual human recruiter will review those responses in the morning. But it is just one way of making the process quicker, faster, and more convenient for our candidates.
that's outstanding.
We haven't implemented it yet, but it's
Okay.
definitely something we're looking into and tinkering with. How do we have the best technology that will help elevate the candidate experience, not
Sure.
harm or delay it?
Yeah. And people do feel locked in because they are getting off work at 1 and they're sleeping,
Yep,
obviously, during the day.
sure,
And here they are. The recruiting, places are closed.
exactly. So
Great
we're all
point.
trying to meet our candidates where they're at. And that's, I think,
Yes.
what'll help differentiate us from our competitors or anyone in the industry is really just attracting or meeting candidates where they're at and making it more a convenient process for them.
No, I agree with you. And I've had the privy actually of sitting and watching Joe interview. And it's intense in a great way. Um, First of all, I'm going to let Joe lead us into that, but he actually shows exactly what HelloFresh is about, their values, what to expect when you're walking into one of their domiciles. A little bit about leadership, and it's all lined out. There are no hidden agendas. It is right there. And it was the first time I've actually seen a large company, great company, really dissect and care that the candidates have information beyond what they Googled. And it should be that way across the board. So take us to what you show individuals, what your team takes people through, Joe.
Sure. So with our recruiters, we like to walk them through what they can expect from a culture standpoint, whether you're in our distribution centers or our
Yeah.
corporate office. But from there, we also like to do a lot of recruitment marketing campaigns or videos. Whether you know HelloFresh or not,
Yeah.
knowing HelloFresh and working at HelloFresh are two very different things. In our distribution centers, we're working in 34-degree temperature controlled rooms. Not many people know that ahead of time. And so we've
Hmm.
really taken it upon ourselves to revamp a lot of the recruitment marketing videos. We'll do ads via the typical social channels. We're now looking into showcasing more of our actual employees. And again, it's all about reaching your candidates where they're at. And so we think of candidates today. TikTok is a really big
Yes.
platform for our candidates, I should say. And so we're tinkering with creating TikTok style marketing that you can scroll through on your phone, or you can see on your phone as you're scrolling through, but it's a get ready with me. And it's an employee walking through their first day of what to wear to work, because in our distribution centers, there are certain health and safety violations, whether it's nails, jewelry, etc. So really walking through so that by the time our candidates even have that first screen, or by the time they walk in the door, they already know where they're at, where they're going, what their role entails, what growth opportunities look like, and just who they're going to be working with.
Hmm.
We found that the more transparent we are in the interview, recruiting, and onboarding process, the
Yes.
more likely we are for our new hires to stay much longer than those who didn't get the same experience.
Agreed. You're setting people up for success,
Absolutely.
which is great. How long is your onboarding process typically?
It's very quick, especially from an hourly standpoint. We do a background check, which typically takes 1 to 2 business days to get the results back.
Hmm.
And then from there, we're typically scheduling our new hires for our next open shift or availability. So I would say typically it's no more than a week from when you applied and interviewed to when you're starting, assuming everything works out with the background check.
Okay. And internally with the domiciles, I call them domiciles. Um, so distribution centers.
Sure.
Um, how many shifts are there, and what kind of opportunities do you place for?
Yeah, so within our distribution centers, our shifts vary by site, by volume.
Okay.
I would say in the Aurora market, we're typically looking for those who are daytime shifts, mid afternoon, and
Oh,
even an early evening shift.
okay.
We typically are looking for 4 days of work per week, 10-hour shifts. And what I like about that and the feedback we've gotten from our candidates and new hires across the country is having that 4 by 10 schedule creates more of a work-life balance for them.
It
It
does.
makes them more invested in what we're doing at HelloFresh because they're at our site a little bit longer each day. They have that sense of pride and ownership. And it's been a really nice change for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So, as far as the schedule that it's set, it's obviously it's a 4-day work week, 10 hours, 40 hours. I get that. And is there any specific time frame that they have to be on board to, say, for example, go from second shift to first shift, or you hire specifically for those shifts?
We'll hire specifically for those shifts.
Okay.
But what I love about HelloFresh is we have flexibility. So,
Mm,
we've hired people where they want the late afternoon evening shift because they have children that they want to take care of and
yes.
childcare at night. And then, a few months later, circumstances are different. Maybe the kids are out of school. Maybe there's more help at home. And so someone wants to switch their schedule. That's definitely an opportunity just whenever we have the opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember touring the beautiful facility here in Aurora, and it is spotless, absolutely meticulous. And we
Yes.
had to first, we were welcomed by the team, and we had to put on our white coats
The
and
coats and the
gloves
garments.
and covered up our shoes, and it was outstanding.
It is. I've been to almost all of our distribution centers within HelloFresh and Factor. In previous companies, I've been to other distribution centers, etc. I have never seen a DC as cleanly and clean
Yes.
as HelloFresh. And that's really a big kudos to our food and safety teams that really prioritize cleanliness,
Hmm.
food safety, making sure that our production associates are following hand washing procedures, that
Yes.
we're keeping all of our stations in our huge 30,000 square feet distribution centers clean, tidy, organized.
Yeah.
Even during our busiest, rush time when we're packing thousands of boxes in an hour, it is still insane to see how clean that building stays because we have teams dedicated to it throughout every part of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed. I thought very few times would I feel I could eat off the floor,
Yeah.
literally. And I was like,
Yes.
okay, this is amazing.
And as someone who orders HelloFresh and Factor, I was very nervous going to the distribution centers at first because it was like, oh, I'm literally going to see how the sausage is made.
Hmm.
And I walked away doubling my order with HelloFresh, doing
Yes,
more with Factor because I really trust the food that our people are making every day.
I agree. And I got to see it
It's
firsthand.
great.
And that's when I became a fan.
Yes, we love that.
Yes. And it seriously, I was able to watch a chef, a prep chef. I was able to watch people on the line, packing the amazing boxes, if you will. But beyond that, can you take us on a career path? This is all about learning opportunities here in the great city of Aurora with the wonderful companies that we've had on the show. And so I would like Joe to really lead us into a career path that folks can take working right here and starting packing a box.
Yes, and what I love about HelloFresh is our what I would call our entry level role into the production or
Yes.
distribution centers. We call them a production associate, and those are the ones that are picking and packing the
Yes.
boxes. That is not where the opportunities end. That's where the opportunities begin.
Yes,
And what
Joe.
I love about HelloFresh is we're really committed to internal development. We're a global company in 18 different countries, and we're really focused not only on global mobility, but for us in the US and the distribution centers. We've had folks who started off as a production associate picking and packing the boxes. There's a couple different routes they can take. So for some folks, they wanted to go into food safety and sanitation, and they wanted to be part of that crew that
Yes.
keeps the well-oiled machine a well-oiled machine. There are other folks who want to grow within the food part of our business, and maybe they'll go down the route of a sous chef. Maybe they'll go
Mm.
down the route of area manager, making sure that the people in one specific area are doing everything they need so that we're hitting our minutes per box metrics.
Okay.
There are folks that started at HelloFresh making, $15, $16 an hour a couple years ago that are now in a salaried position making six figures, that are taking care of their family, that are able to grow and buy a house, all because of the work they do at HelloFresh and their
Yes.
opportunity to grow.
Yes. I love that.
Thank you.
And
It's
it,
been great.
yes,
Very
and
rewarding.
it's got to be. I mean, that's why you're in your position because it's got to be rewarding for sure.
Absolutely.
As far as diversity, equity, and inclusion, that seems to be a big topic these
It
days.
is.
Obviously, HelloFresh, is an international company, a global company. How do you keep that alive?
Sure. For us, it's a few things. It's we partner with HBCUs, but also DE&I at our company is not something that is just an HR checklist. It's something that all of us are really bought into. And from a
Yes.
recruiting point of view, I've actually been very fortunate because within HelloFresh, we have a DE&I team. And what they've done a great job at is both coaching recruiters and myself on the importance of having a diverse slate of candidates for a role, the importance of having a diverse interview panel to interview these candidates.
Nice.
And it's not only training that they teach us, it's what we teach our entire business. The importance of diversity and how we can all learn from each other's different skills to
Yes.
make our one company even stronger. But for me, more specifically, I love to partner with HBCUs. Howard University in Washington, D.C. is a school that I'm very close with. And it's beyond more than a traditional job fair. What what we've been able to do is build the relationship. So when myself and a few members of my team go to Howard, we're not just going to a job fair. We're taking over classrooms. We're engaging with students. We're providing them with career advice, opportunities. My recruiters and myself are reviewing resumes. We're coaching mock interviews. We're teaching this next generation how to utilize AI in the job seeking process. And so for me, it's more important than we just want someone from a diverse school to apply. It's
Right.
how can we be a great community partner? And if they end up applying to HelloFresh, that's the cherry on top. But if not, we know that we made an impact and we just want to be a good corporate citizen to the communities we serve.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, that's so unique.
It is. And one more thing I forgot is every year we also do a marketing cohort where it's an all expense paid trip for 10 students from DC to our headquarters in New York City. It's not just a glorified office tour. They're getting one-on-one time with our chief marketing officer to talk about, hey, you're a marketing student, you're about to graduate. What path within marketing do you want to go down? And then our CMO is telling them directly from his voice, if you want to go down this route, here's what you need to do. If you want to do this, you should go here. They're getting one-on-one time with me to talk about career development.
Wow.
They're meeting with different leaders to talk about different subjects over the course of 2 days. And again, if they end up applying to HelloFresh, great, but it's all about creating opportunity and helping our partners across the country get more exposure. And whether they apply to us or not, we're just doing what we can.
That's excellent community involvement.
We try to. Thank you.
Well, one of the great things that HelloFresh has done here for the great city of Aurora is provide a van, a refrigerated van. I happen to have been there the day in the rain and cold that the city was actually awarded with this wonderful opportunity. And the van helps take food from the domicile here in Aurora and takes it to the local food pantries. Outstanding.
It's
I mean, Joe.
You know, one of the reasons I was attracted to HelloFresh in the first place, not only because I knew the product and I was a customer at one point, but there is so much we do from a food sustainability standpoint. You know, we have very little food waste, and we have a lot of community partners, especially within the US, where we're able to donate extra food because, again, we don't want it to go to waste. And, you know, we're right down the road from the Aurora Distribution Center, and anything we can do to help, again, with our local partners, we're more than happy to do so.
Well, you've definitely done that.
Good.
And it's very appreciated by the city.
We're happy to help.
Very much so. So, one of the things I'd like to ask, and I know you're very candid, hiring red flags.
This is a good one.
Let's keep it real.
Yes, we're keeping it real.
I keep it real. And this is for the viewers, so you truly know. Sometimes maybe you were given misadvice, okay, where you were told this is what you need to do in an interview. You have an expert, okay? We have an expert right here. And he is going to tell you the do's and the don'ts.
The do's and the don'ts. I love that. My first advice to anyone, whether you're applying to a production associate hourly role or a VP of finance role, always have questions prepared to ask your interviewer at the end. I cannot stress that enough. Even if you have multiple rounds of interviews and you're meeting multiple people, it is okay to ask the same questions to sort of see what people are, how people answer the same questions. You may want to have different questions depending on who you're talking to. But my rule of thumb is before an interview starts, have at least 7 to 10 questions ready to ask. And the reason why I say that many is typically throughout a 30, 45-minute interview, most of the questions you're going to ask or you planned on asking will be answered during that interview with the recruiter.
Okay.
So typically at the end of the interview process, when the recruiter says, hey, what questions do you have for me? As long as you're able to ask 2 or 3 questions, that's going to let the recruiter and the hiring manager know that you're motivated by this company, you're ambitious, you want to know more about the role because you're very interested in the role. When candidates don't ask questions, it doesn't mean they're a bad candidate. It's just the perception they're giving to the hiring manager is they don't really care about the role. And if I'm interviewing multiple candidates, the one who's going to stick out is the one who's asking really good, thought provoking questions. And typically, what I like to do is this is a great opportunity to use ChatGPT or any type of AI to say,
Okay.
hey, here's a job description for a role I'm applying to. What are some questions that I could maybe ask the hiring manager, the recruiter, the panel interviews? What can I ask? Utilize
Great.
ChatGPT to help you brainstorm. And then, you could ask those questions. You could maybe think of other questions, but it's really important. My second red flag is whenever someone's talking about being on a team, but they never use the word we, it's a lot of I statements. Lone wolf energy rarely thrives in collaborative environments. And
Right,
I
right.
tend to work and recruit for environments that thrive on collaboration. And so if you're not able to talk about your team without involving everything you did, that to me, maybe not a red flag, but it's a yellow flag that could
Gotcha.
be potentially a red flag.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
Really.
It's come in handy. I've taught this to hundreds and thousands of people, and it's just that one little tweak can make such a huge difference when you're applying for and interviewing for a role.
Yeah. Are there any videos that is available to the public that you and your team use that can be accessible to others that you utilize for training and development when you're out in the community?
Ooh, no videos exist at the moment, but
Okay.
I also tend to oversee our talent branding team. So this is
Nice.
an opportunity, I think, to really showcase and do more with that media piece.
Awesome. No, that's great. I just think, you have an excellent platform,
Oh,
unique
sure,
to actually be doing it just because you want to help people in the community become
sure,
successful. I love that. And I
absolutely.
think that I know Google is my friend and Google is the friend of many, but it would be nice to have a resource area.
Yeah. I think the Googles and the AIs are great surface level resources, but
Yes.
you get a little bit more in depth when you have, again, it's human versus AI. You're going to have a little bit more heart and soul when you have a human leading some of the training, development, et cetera, compared to what you find on an internet or chat GPT.
Right. Agreed. What is your favorite interview question?
Oh, tell me the biggest mistake you've made in the workplace.
Wow. I
I
love that.
I don't ask it as a gotcha question because we all make mistakes in the workplace.
Yes.
But to me, it reveals emotional intelligence, accountability, honesty. But most importantly, I want to know how you problem solve. I
Okay.
think there is a true vulnerability in the honesty that comes with making a mistake. I've made thousands of mistakes probably today, but I'm very honest about the mistakes I make and what I did to remedy those situations.
Yes.
And from a candidate perspective, that's exactly what I want to know. And furthermore, what you've learned from the mistake and what you've done to prevent making that same mistake in the future.
Outstanding
It
question.
it helps a lot. I'll tell you that much.
It does. One of the worst questions, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, that's such a terrible question to ask because
Thank you.
most candidates don't know what the career path looks like. Most
Yes.
companies don't do a great job of showcasing that career path. So anytime I've ever been asked that question, I typically answer it by saying, in 5 years, I plan to still be with this company, learning, developing, and whatever that next step looks like for me, I'm well established in that next step.
Okay.
Because again, it's such an impossible question to answer
It
unless
is.
you are already employed by that organization and you know the ins and outs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a career coach, that's one of the questions I always, when I am coaching someone, when they're looking for an opportunity, I
Yep.
say, oh, that's a rough one.
That's a rough one. Yep.
It really is. So I know that obviously you're a well learned person. You are. And you obviously keep on growing because you want to be at an excellent level at your game,
Sure.
right? We all do when we care.
Yep.
So, what are some of the resources or books and things that you can share with other
Yes.
talent?
Yes. There's
individuals?
a few books. I would say the book that's been the biggest game changer for me,
Yeah.
Leading with Heart by Coach K from Duke University.
Okay.
It's not new by any means, but it's one of the best playbooks when it comes to how team building and capability and compassionate leadership are applicable to both a sports perspective as well as a business setting. And it's for those who are very passionate about people leading.
Yes.
It's a great resource to check out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Of course. And, in terms of other sort of opportunities or things to take advantage of, there's so much via LinkedIn to help recruiters learn and develop in their skill set. There are tons of training modules. I always like to believe in being a great stakeholder means being a great recruiter. And so I've taken courses on stakeholder management because
Okay.
for me, learning never stops. Even
Yes.
though I'm in the role that I'm in, I want to continue to grow. And whether that means grow upwards or grow horizontally, I really just want to keep taking advantage of all the resources that are out there, most of which are free or very cheap. And so if you happen to work for a company that has some type of educational stipends or
Mhm.
reimbursement, there are so many great things to take advantage of that are also low cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Of course.
Do you want to leave us with anything?
Ooh, yes, that would be great. I would say this, especially in the world of recruiting that we're in right now, and we hear a lot of companies doing layoffs in 2024, 2025, and who knows what the future beholds. What makes candidates really stand out in the recruiting process is how much research they do on a company, how engaged they are in the interview process, making sure that they've actually done research about the company, and that it's as simple as this, following up with a thank you note after
Yes.
every single email or every single interview, whether it's a recruiter screen, whether it's a hiring panel of 3, that extra personal touch is such a game changer when it comes to hiring managers making that final decision. I've been in the room with executives who were torn between 2 candidates, and
Okay.
one of the final questions that one of the other executives asked was, who of the 2 sent you a thank you note? And there was one that was consistently sending thank you notes for after every interview, and that was a person we went with because that was more aligned with our culture.
Yes.
So it sounds hokey. It sounds like a waste of time. I guarantee you from firsthand experience, a little thank you note can go a very long way.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Joe, I want to thank you
Happy to be here.
and thank HelloFresh for all they do for many communities globally.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate that. And I personally want to thank for the great food and keeping me healthy during lunch where it's so easy, seriously, to go
Likewise.
out and to have a hot dog and fries. Not that I don't do that every now and then.
Same.
But it's nice to know that I could have something so convenient
Sure.
and just pop it in the microwave and have at it. And I know that it's healthy for me.
Exactly.
And it comes from a great place
It does.
that's clean and that cares about their communities. And with that said, Joe, will you please come back?
Yes, I'm more than happy to. There's a lot more to discuss than what we discussed today. So happy to be back whenever you need me.
I need you.
Great. I'm
Aurora
coming back.
needs you. Absolutely. Next time you come back, I'd like for you to take us through, the deck that you
Yeah.
have with all of the prep that
Yes.
you do for people and
Sure.
how you help people in the community just because.
Absolutely.
For any type of work that they may. And like you said so eloquently, even if it's not HelloFresh, you're there to help.
Exactly.
You're there to provide resources and a pathway and help people prep to be successful during an interview. And for that, I thank you so much, Joe.
Happy to help. And we love supporting the communities we serve. And as a local Chicagoan, Oak Parker,
Yes.
anything I can do for our friends in Aurora, I'm more than happy to do so.
Yay. Thank you
Of
so
course,
much.
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed our show today as much as I have. And Joe will definitely be back with more resources and more tools for us to continue to learn. I know that I've learned a lot today. I hope you have too. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, HelloFresh. Until next time, bye.